podcast world. What's up? Chad Belling back at you. Another episode. Thank you all so much for joining us right here at This Life Ain't For Everybody. We got another stellar episode coming your way. Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you again by our friends out of Lynchburg, Tennessee, the home of Jack Daniels. Doesn't get any more American than that. Enjoy it responsibly, but don't forget to enjoy it. Whether you just got dumped, whether you're celebrating your first duck, whether you're celebrating a nice steak on the Traeger, do it responsibly, but there's nothing wrong with pairing that sour mash Tennessee whiskey Jack Daniels with your favorite food or your favorite good time with your favorite buddies or your favorite girl or your favorite man. Just do it and keep supporting them. They're as American as they can get, and they support our culture of being an outdoorsman and a provider. Thank you, Jack Daniels, for everything you do for us here at all of our brands. I'm fired up to have a National Football League professional football player, a lineman, a dude that could literally tear 99% of this listening audience's head off if he wanted to. David Andrews from the New England Patriots. You're a big teddy bear though, right, buddy? You don't like to brawl. You're just a good football player.
That's right. Just in between the lines.
And speaking of in between the lines, you know what I always find interesting is that the receiver goes out and he catches a pass and he gets smoked, right? And the linebacker comes in and goes helmet to helmet and makes a great hit. I don't think a lot of people that aren't like real, like into athletics or like study the game of football. And I'm not saying that I do, and I'm not a big football fan, and we're going to get into this and I'm going to tell you why. And I just want your opinion on some of this, but it's amazing the punishment that linemen go through because they are literally going at it every play. Is this fair to say?
Yeah, it's a tough position, man. And it's one that I love and enjoy. No one really knows who we are. We're kind of behind the scenes on a lot of stuff and don't really get the, flashy endorsement deals or anything like that, maybe these big time receivers, running backs and quarterbacks do. But, it's something that I think a cool position and special position to do that. And, it's a unbelievable experience, I think, if you get to experience it.
So what is your exact responsibility, David?
Well, the first thing every play is got to get the football to the quarterback, be in the center. That's the most important thing. Without that, ain't nothing going to happen. So that's step number one. That's probably the hardest job of the center is the snap, and then having another 300-plus pound man in front of you. Usually as a center, your responsibility is obviously the snap, but then you're also kind of the more cerebral guy and trying to figure out stuff and whether it's setting up the protections or run plays. So there's a lot that goes into it. I think offensive linemen are some of the smartest guys on the football team.
I could not argue that. I was really good friends with a guy named Tony Cesario that was an All-American. You know Tony?
Yeah. I don't know him personally. I know I've heard of his name.
So you know the story of Tony and how he passed away. And he was a dear friend of mine. We were partners in a business in Colorado called Bandit Hunts at one time. He was the boots on the ground with all the farming, all the contacts up there, being a 2-time All-American at CSU, but just seeing what he would go through. Being a lineman and not, getting the big endorsement deals and kind of being that quiet position that's doing a lot of the work, you have a lot of responsibility. Do you take the same level of responsibility and pride that you've had to do in protecting Tom Brady, who is probably he's one of the more notable names in the game? You protected him for season after season after season for the past 6 years. Did you take the same pride in high school, the same pride in college? You're a Georgia Bulldog. Do you take the same pride in protecting the guys back then? And the easy answer is yes, but does a certain level of responsibility come when you have the Tom Brady behind you?
I mean, I think overall, yeah, like you said, the obvious answer is yes, especially being a center. The quarterback center relationship is pretty close and intimate at times. They're getting up your butt a little bit and they're putting their hands, a lot of places, people would think would probably be pretty weird, but, so it's an intimate relationship to some extent, but I think you take pride in it, whoever it is back there. My high school quarterback are still best friends to this day. And I take a lot of pride, in trying to protect him and, all those things. And I think it's just, there's something about an offensive lineman that somewhere deep down engraved with them is that kind of natural protector. And it's those guys are putting a lot of trust in you so they can look downfield, make the throws they have to. But obviously, when you talk about Tom Brady, you draft, you hear all these young kids draft the things tomorrow. Yeah. It's like, who do you want to sack? And it's obviously Tom Brady. Every young kid that comes in the league, new player, that's going to be, the next great pass rusher wants to sack Tom Brady. So
why though? Can you tell me what, like, have you ever heard a reason?
I mean, it's just the best to ever do it. It's just killing a rare duck, killing a big buck. Everyone, you want to do it just because it's rare. Not a lot of people get to do it. And, will there ever be a Tom Brady? Whoever knows. And I think people, just like all of us who played with him, to say, that was my teammate, versus all the guys that say, hey, I beat Tom Brady. Hey, I sacked him. I picked him off. The list goes on and on. So whenever that is an aspect, I think, there's a heightened sense of people wanting to hurt him and get after him and sack him.
Now that you put it that way, I want to sack him.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So a lot of times when you watch the draft, and obviously the draft is going to be different tomorrow for known reasons of the virus, and hopefully you guys have a season, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed. All signs are pointing that way, but things are just weird right now. And I don't know, we're going to get into that a little bit, but I didn't want to concentrate a lot of the conversation on it because guys that make their living playing professional sports and their season gets canceled, like these baseball players right now, or if you're a senior wrestler in the NCAAs and your finals just what a shitty deal, right? So I want to talk about it a little bit, but I also, I just kind of like to live in your shoes, man, because you're doing something that's 16 times a year. It's probably the most watched sport in the continent of the United States. I know worldwide soccer is. I know NASCAR is big, but the NFL audience is before what, it happened with what's his name. I don't even remember the guy's name on the 49ers, but I don't say that in joking. I didn't respect a whole lot was going down there. I tried to understand the why in it, but it seems like the audience base kind of was disrupted for a minute, but it's a big fan base.
Yeah.
A quarterback goes up in the draft, comes out of a D1 school, and you're like, oh, this is going to be the godsend, right? And then he comes in the league and he never matures. He never pans out. I think, didn't Tom Brady get drafted in the 6th round or the 4th round? I mean, he was not a high draft pick, right?
Yeah, I think he was a 6th rounder.
6th rounder.
Yeah. But, that stuff happens, when I came out of college, or when I was going into college, I was not a high recruit, back then. And I played with a lot of guys who were a lot higher recruits. And now some of them were the Todd Gurleys, one of the best college football players, or the Jarvis Jones, who was a 1st rounder and had a good career with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I played with a lot of guys that were like that. But then there was a lot of guys that were supposed to be the next great, and then they never played it down in the NFL and never really had a successful career at Georgia. And the same things happened in the NFL. You see it every year. These guys they're called bust, and they get drafted, supposed to be the godsend of the franchise, and they just fizzle out. And it's so hard to tell what happens, whether it's injuries or whatnot. It is like a crapshoot sometimes. There's a lot of great picks, and the guys that turn out to be the Tom Brady's in the 6th round, and then there's guys in the 1st round that turn out to be the great 1st rounders, and then there's a lot of guys on each team like me who were undrafted. Basically just tried out and made the team and grinded their way and, have successful long careers.
I don't see a whole lot of NFL scouts missing it when you're playing like with the Wolverines or a big time college program. I would think it would be hard for an NFL scout to miss somebody. Like they've probably got a pretty good hold of their radar, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, there is, but there's also centers that were drafted before me that aren't in the league
but anymore. That's my point, David, is that what did you see with Brady going from a 6th rounder and you admitting that, you weren't drafted as high as some centers. So what leadership qualities, what tenacity, what do you guys have that takes you to that level of Pro Bowl, but more importantly, Super Bowl championships, conference championships, MVP type seasons, and you just said it yourself, that freaking bullseye on his back, and you were responsible for protecting that bullseye and covering up that scope. What did you see in Brady, and did that transition into your mindset and make you a better player, seeing what a stud he was?
Did you see this Michael Jordan, the Bulls documentary that ESPN did? Have you seen they came out with the first part of it Sunday?
No, I have not.
So I watched it. I'm not a huge basketball fan, but I have a lot of respect for, the great athletes of the world, and watching it and seeing some of the stuff they showed of Michael Jordan and how people described him. Obviously I don't know Michael Jordan, but now it's getting to share a locker room with Tom Brady. I'm sitting there like, holy crap, that was just the Michael Jordan of football. That was just, there's this, with those rare talents and the people like that, there's this, you can't put your finger on it. You can't describe it. And I truly believe you're just born with it or you're not, I think Michael Jordan was super talented. I think there's probably been some more talented basketball players than him, but the work ethic, the mental capacity, to not get tired, to not lose, to, just this won't take no for an answer kind of mentality. I think everyone has it, but I think those real superstars, the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans, Tom Brady's, they just have a little bit more of it than some of us. And seeing Tom do that, his leadership, the standard he set every day, how he demanded the best, not only out of each other, but himself, as a leader, and learning from that, you learn what the standard was and what it looks like and how it's supposed to be done. And as a young player, I think if you soak that up, it can really have a big impact on you, on how you approach the game, how you approach your workouts, your health, your diet, your film study, every aspect of your game is important. And he really preached that and lived it. And so, as a, now going into my 6th year, something I've tried to soak up as much as I could.
And I would never bring you on a podcast and just talk about Tom Brady, because you're just as important to me as Tom Brady would be. I'm not trying to sound like, hey, I got David on here to talk about how awesome it was to be. I'm simply interested in, what a kid like you learned coming into that organization and seeing that, because when he came out of college, he didn't even start every game in Michigan. At Michigan, he wasn't a high draft pick. He wasn't a prodigy. So he had to have something that you saw, like when you watch the Jordan, you're like, that was Jordan. Jordan was a failure. Jordan had to go into the gym every day and become way better and better. And when he said it himself, he goes, I never succeeded till I learned how to fail. When he went into baseball, he looked like he'd never swung a baseball bat, but he just kept working and working. The next thing you know, he's starting in AA for reasons, obviously he's Michael Jordan, but he was a good enough athlete to become Air Jordan, like the most recognizable athlete of all time, probably in the world. I mean, he's to this day, 15 years retired or whatever, he's still doing the amount of revenue with Nike and Air Jump.
I mean, the brand's unreal.
It's amazing brand, right? So is Brady. Like, Brady he comes across to me as so organized. Do you learn these traits from him? Are you watching your diet? They talk about his off-season mental preparation, his off-season or his scouting and his breaking down of film. His diet, like I said, his alcohol consumption, his workout program. Is he a fun haver? Is he down to earth? Does he ever break loose of the Tom Brady under the shoulder pads and have a good time? I would say yes. I think I saw him at a UFC fight once and it looked like he was having a good time. But did you learn all of these traits and start putting them into your own notebook?
I think there's a thing too. The organization, the Patriots as a whole, is possibly one of the greatest organizations. Obviously, I haven't been involved in other teams, but just as an organization, from Mr. Kraft, and how he conducts himself and how he runs the business, and then Coach Belichick, a lot of those things, those mentalities that Tom has, and habits and things like that. Like I said, he might have been born with them, but I think he was groomed, under this Coach Belichick and under the assistant coaches we've had here. I've been so blessed to be in this organization and learn so much, from not only, Coach Belichick and Tom, but you see it in other guys that I really respect on our football team that maybe other people don't know about. But Devin McCourty, one of the best safeties to play in the game, in my opinion. Matthew Slater, in my opinion, should be a Hall of Famer, and he plays special teams, but he's one of the best leaders, and how he approaches it every day. It's something special, I think, and it's not just one person in Tom. Tom was our leader. He was, our quarterback, but you see it so much in just people in the organization and how they carry themselves. And, I think just being involved in that organization and the guys in the locker room, Tom is the standard, and he set the standard while he was there. but it trickled down to so many guys, and it's just hard not to be that way in that building.
So when you see a guy reach that part in his career, David, as far as like, hey, can he go another year? He's in his 40s, and he, if we make the playoffs, can he play a full 18, 19 game schedule? Is your mindset like, please, Mr. Kraft, the GM, do whatever it takes to sign this man. He is going to lead us to the promised land again. Or are you at the mindset like, as far as my age and my maturity level goes with the New England Patriots organization, maybe it is time for him to make his exit, go live his golden years in Tampa Bay, and then be able to get another arm in there to carry the organization? Or did you cry when he left? Did you actually shed a tear physically when you found out Tom was leaving New England?
The one thing that's so different about the NFL than college is the turnover. Obviously, you got 4 years with a guy, and transferring wasn't as big when I was at Georgia as it is now. And these, you hear kids about nowadays, and so it was like, guys going to be here 3 or 4 years and then they're gone. And that's just life. But in the NFL, it's so different because, it's every year. I mean, the turnover every year is just mind blowing. And, and it sucks when that happens. I know when I came into the league, the veteran of the offensive line was a guy named Nate Solder. Played in 2 Super Bowls with Nate, won one, and then Nate left and had to go start another career somewhere. And he's with the Giants now, and that sucked to me because I looked up to him a lot. He was kind of the leader in our room, and it was kind of a void that I was going to have to step into as a young player to be the leader in the room. And, so it was kind of an interesting transition. We bring a new guy in, Trent Brown, in 2018. Trent was from San Francisco. He's another Georgia kid, played at Florida. And we just had a great unit in 2018. And Trent left in 2018, to go sign a deal. And, it all sucked and we hated it. And, it just happens every year. Guys leave, guys get traded, guys get cut, guys get retired. And that's just part of this business, unfortunately. And you don't fault anyone for making a decision. The Patriots, we didn't sign back Nate Solder. We didn't sign back Trent Brown. I wish we had both of them, when they were leaving. You never want to see a guy you win with leave, especially when you just come off of a Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and you learn that very quickly. It's not high school football. Everyone is out there playing just because they love the game. It's a business, and people have families, and people have to make the best decisions for themselves, and the organization has to make best decisions for the organization.
You're pretty well spoken, dude, for a lineman. Like I think that's another.
I told you we're smart guys.
That's like a stereotype, though, that you wouldn't think a lineman, and they are. They're like, every lineman I've ever met is so well spoken, and I'm not saying they all are, but like a Dexter Manley interview back in the day. I mean, do yourself a favor and go watch a couple of those. That's a Dexter Manley joke. You know who that is, right? From the Washington Redskins back in the day. I
do not. I'll have to look that one up.
Look up Dexter Manley, Manley interviews, and and he was a joy. But when I went from high school to play in college baseball, and when I got there, I was like, oh man, I might not be suited for this. These guys are all way better than me, because you went from being a big fish in a small pond to being a fish in a pond with a bunch of other fish that are just as good, if not way better than you. What is it like going from a high-powered D1 SEC powerhouse like Georgia that is playing against the Bamas and the LSUs? I mean, the Razorbacks, which iffy there, but I mean, Alabama and LSU are arguably the best college football programs the last 20 years. 15 years, and Georgia's always right there. Okay. Yeah. So what is it like going from that, running out of the tunnel there? Is it a completely different level of energy in the NFL and a different level of talent?
Well, I think it's two different things. SEC football is insane. SEC football rules the South. That's what the South revolves around, is SEC football. And, I got friends and stuff getting married right now, and it's always a joke if you get married on a Georgia football game. But up here, it's a joke if you get married at a New England Patriot football game or during a New England Patriot football game, and you're not supposed to do that. So I've been fortunate to get to play in 2 really cool environments in the sense of fan base and community. I living where we live now, Boston's such a sports town. So it's like being back in Athens, Georgia, and, where the sports ruled. And so that's really cool. But, I think one of the big differences is in Georgia, we played some really good teams. But it was, maybe 4 or 5 games a year where it was like, wow, this guy's going to be really good. This guy's going to be playing on Sunday. Whereas when you're in the NFL, even if you're playing the worst team in your division, there's probably a Pro Bowler on the other side of the ball from you. And if there's not a Pro Bowler, he's probably making $16 million because he's that good, or whatever. He's one of the highest paid guys. So it's just each week in the NFL is a grind. And I didn't realize that until, I got to my rookie year, and, we opened with the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously historic franchise. And I was just like, man, it's the Steelers. And then who did we play week 2? I don't even know who we played. It might have been someone struggling. And I was kind of like, good. We played the Steelers, got through that one, won. Maybe this team won't be as good. And it was just a drag out fight. And that was when I kind of realized, like, dude, everybody in this league is so good. And it's not, you can never take a week off. You can never take a playoff because someone's going to embarrass you. They're just too good. You can't. And I'm not a good enough player. There are guys in this league that can just survive off their athletic talent and pure ability. But I'm just not a good enough player to do that. So, you don't want to be embarrassed on national TV.
What are you good at? What makes you a starting center in the NFL? Are you obviously intelligence and understanding the playbook is big.
Yeah.
But can you manhandle a nose guard or a guy coming at you that weighs 320?
No, I'm not, I can't really put, I have 295 pounds at most. So I'm not someone that's just going to manhandle or maul a guy. I might be that, kind of annoying, like a beagle hunting a rabbit, you know what I mean? Just nipping at them, chasing them, always getting in the way, just, but I'm not going to be a, Rottweiler, demolishing somebody. So that's not how I play. I try to play as physical as I can, as tough as I can, gritty as I can. But I'm a 6'2", 295 guy. So
that doesn't seem that big. That just doesn't seem that big. So you got to have some unbelievable strength. You got to be meaner than, you don't look mean, but you look like you could get mean if needed.
Yeah. I try to play a little pissed off. So like I said, I had an uncle who was a head coach in the NFL for a while and grew up with him being a head coach. And, a lot of his players I would see, and they'd be so nice to me off the field. And then I'd be in training camp and they'd be getting in fights. I'm 7, 8 years old. Like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. They're still out there throwing punches at each other in training camp. And but then they're coming off the field and like messing around with me and like picking on me and playing with me. And so it was just like, mind blowing. And as I got older, he just, talked and would tell me things, and about how there's just two different people when you get in between, the lines. And I would see him yell and scream and, jump down his players' throats and then come over here and just be as nice as he could to me. And he even had that persona as a coach. So, something I tried to learn to develop and still apply to this day.
I love hearing that. And thinking about how mean the sport can be. You see injuries. There's been noted injuries like the Joe Theismann leg, the concussions, the whole study around the helmets and the injuries and the longevity of football players, short-term memory, long-term memory. I'm sure you're a ladies' man. I'm sure you probably have a nice little Southern girlfriend. You might be married already. Are you planning on having kids in your life?
Yeah, I've been married for 3 years now. My wife's father actually is a game warden back home in Georgia. He's retired, but yeah.
Don't be an outlaw because he's a game warden.
I got to stay on he'd arrest me overnight. He wouldn't care.
He'd finally get back at you for taking his daughter on a date.
Yeah, no, but me and him get along great. But yeah, we're not anytime soon right now. We're just still enjoying being married, and obviously with the state of things. This is my last year on my contract, so we don't know, if we'll be here next year or somewhere else. So hopefully get some more, solid footing, kind of figure out what our deal is long-term and go from there.
So you're a dad now, 5 years down the road, you got a son. I've heard neurologists and brain surgeons and high-level MDs. I've heard ex-NFL football players, but I've also heard both sides of this. Where does David Andrews fit on? Are you going to let your son play football after you've been through what you've been through? And I know the easy answer is, dude, the team, the leadership, the qualities you learn in this are amazing. You can learn the same things on a wrestling mat that are with your chances of concussion and big time injuries the odds are a lot lower. Where do you stand on it? And is football just a game to where, like, get out there and Pop Warner without any core development and go tackle head down with coaches that probably aren't coaching right? Or are you with the mindset of, well, maybe when he turns 15, 17 and his body's developed and he's a little smarter, I might let him put some pads on? Or by that time, is it too late? Where do you sit on that, David?
So I started playing football when I was in kindergarten. I wasn't forced to. I was a bigger kid. Like every kid, I started playing t-ball and soccer at a super young age. And I didn't like soccer. I didn't mind baseball. I wasn't very good at baseball. My dad played baseball, and so we kind of butted heads in that sense. Whereas football, he didn't play that much, and I was kind of more of my, I felt better playing that. So if I have a kid and they want to play, I'll let them play. I won't make them play. I am the biggest fan of this game. This game's given me a chance to get a college degree, which I got to go back to do. It's what I do for a living. If it wasn't for this game, I probably would have met my wife. Wouldn't met a lot of the cool people and opportunities that I've had in my life. And I think, there comes a point if my son says, I don't want to play, then that's fine. And, but there's going to come a point if he wants to go play college football. And then at that age, I know what I'm getting myself into. I know there's a risk for maybe having some health issues or tearing my body up. But at the same time, life's fragile in general. Look at what we're going through now. I've broken fingers and wrists playing football, never major injuries, no major football surgeries. I got a blood clot on a flight this summer and missed the whole football year. No football related. 1 in 6 people die of blood clots is what I was told from the doctor. So, but you don't hear people, saying bad things about flying on airplanes. I think you also are getting beat up on a daily basis through practice, through spring through the fall workouts into the season, the preseason, postseason, all of it. Long career. I watched a documentary called Beyond the Mat just about professional wrestling, and it had Terry Funk on there and about, like, the dude can barely walk after 30 years of wrestling, right? And he's faking it. Like, they get hurt. Like, those wrestlers get hurt, but they are faking the fighting, but they really do sustain some serious injuries. I would think that you would be more apt to. Are you saying that through football that on a Monday you're not on a couch with ice bags on both of your knees and a masseuse over there and just beat to like you don't even feel like walking on a Monday? Or is it not as bad as it looks from the public, from the outside looking in? I mean, I think it's bad. I don't think there's also a difference is there's a lot of people that can't do that day in and day out like we can. There's a lot of great athletes in the world, and there's a lot of big, strong people in the world, but they can't take the beating day in and day out. We lift and run sprints on Monday. So, we'll get back at, 4 a.m., sleep for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, get up and go work out Monday, at noon, and then meet all Monday afternoon. So, it's a grind and it's tough, and there's days where you wonder why you do it. But then, when you're holding up a Lombardi trophy or winning on a Sunday afternoon with the guys and feeling like you accomplished something, I mean, there's just nothing like it. I never won a, championship in college, but still love the game. You wanted to go out there and compete. And it's just something I think that gets inside of you and you can't let it go. And, I know now that if there's going to be a chance, maybe one day that, maybe I struggle walking or something, but I know people that, bodies break down that didn't play a professional sport. And, that's just life. And it's a gamble I'm really willing to take. And, I think, there's a lot of people that play this game for a long time and are healthy. So, I think it's just, you got to take care of your body too. I think now we know a lot more about research and how to take care of your body and,
That's a good point.
things like that. And then you also, I think on top of that too, careers are shorter now. Guys play 8-9 years and obviously a lot more money's made now. And so they're able to walk away from the game. Whereas a guy had to, play a lot longer, in the 80s and, a lot earlier and stuff like that. So, I think guys take care of their body a lot more nowadays too. We know so much more about that. And so, who knows? We'll see.
Very good answer, dude. You got, it's almost like you have been, had a speech writer and you're on a campaign. Like you were legitimately thought out, dude. I mean, that's a great, you just educated me on a few different things in your answer. And I think it's a great way to look at it. And as long as you accept responsibility of it and you understand what could happen and the odds of, the concussion part is what scares me. That's just like a weird deal that you should never have to go through in life. And I remember Tony, my good friend Tony, how many he had as a lineman. And it's just, nobody really attributes the amount of pressure being put on your head and all of the big claws just coming up and slapping your helmet and grabbing your face mask and jolting your neck. And there's just a lot of that going on down there in the trenches. And that's why they call it the trenches. But I don't think the general public watching the game on TV, because way more people watch a football game on TV than there are live. I don't really think you get the gist of what you're really going through every freaking snap. It just seems like there's a lot of damage being done.
It is. And, there's definitely some tough days that are tougher than others. And, but like I said, if the game of football has a hold of me and, the same way duck hunting has over you and, you eat, sleep, breathe it, and it's all you can think about. And that's just how I am. And
with just football, David, or are you like that with hunting as well? I mean, I want to get into that a little bit, but I have one more football question before we answer that one. I want to know two things, and we're going to talk more about football. Don't get me wrong, and I'd love to do other podcasts with you and on our hunting podcast, but we are going to get into the outdoors. What is the biggest mistake you've made in your professional career? Was it forgetting a play? No. Did you not fill a gap and Brady got destroyed? Did you fumble? Were you an eligible lineman downfield to receive and you dropped a pass? What's the biggest mistake you remember making professionally? Physical mistake.
That's so hard because you're going to mess up, and you're gonna get. Marshawn Lynch said it, you're going to get got. Like somebody's going to beat you. And the greats, Tom Brady, whoever, Peyton Manning, they've all thrown interceptions. They've all lost games. So it's part of it. One of the biggest times where I'm just like walking off the field defeated, 2016, we play, I guess I'll go back. 2015, I come in, I started the first 10 games. In the middle of the 10th game on Monday Night Football, I get benched against the Buffalo Bills. I got benched, didn't play 2 weeks, started the 13th game, got benched after that and kind of played, sparingly. So that toward the end of that season, that was pretty tough. Getting benched then, playing another game, then getting taken out. Like it was just up and down toward the end of the season. That was tough. And that was accumulation of a lot of mistakes and being a dumb rookie. But 2016, we played the Houston Texans in the divisional round playoffs at home. I'd given up 2 sacks the whole year, and in one playoff game, I doubled my sack total. So I gave up 2 sacks in that game. We won the game. I felt like we lost the game. And that was a pretty shitty feeling.
How did you give up the sack? Your block beat you?
They did a scheme that put a really good pass rusher on me one-on-one. And his athletic ability, it was something I wasn't prepared for, and just didn't do a good job. And the first move, he hit me and wiggled, and I had him on an edge, but Tom got flushed. And if there's anything people know about Tom Brady, he's not very fast. So the play kind of broke down and ended up getting a sack. The next one, he hit me with the same move, and I thought I had him, and then he spun. And when he spun, it put me in a blender, and that was the second sack of the night. And it just wasn't a great game on top of that. So that was probably like in the game where I'm just like, damn, that was bad. It's definitely that 2016 Houston's game.
What does the line coach say when you get to the sidelines? Does he grab you by the face mask and jump up and just start laying into you?
So our offensive line coach, he just retired. His name was Dante Scarnecchia, the greatest offensive line coach in the game. And that's just not my opinion. A lot of people will say that. And he was a small human. And it was always so funny to me, especially this year, not playing him, kind of watching from afar, is this small man just jumping down the throat of these massive humans. He was a Marine. He is as tough as they come. He's tough as nails. And I think he dog cussed me for a couple minutes. And then, but then there comes a point where he's like, then he tries to coach you, and now you're pissed off. And he's the greatest coach of all time for me. But he probably had some really choice words.
Does it happen again when you're breaking down film a couple days later? Do they just ride you and start, or do they tease you? Does it become a little bit more comical at that point?
No, it will become comical. It's funny now because the two offensive guards with me, one came in with me, and so we've played pretty much every game together. And then the other one came in a year after us, so we're all really close on the inside three. And so we all know, that Monday's tough. That's a tough day when it's your day. But then where it gets comical and a little bit more joking when since we're usually right now we would be going in and meeting and going over stuff and plays from the year before, like 2 years ago come up. It's a little bit more joking, and the offense coordinator's looking back at you like, what are you doing here? And because you've already been coached on it, but it's a lesson that everyone needs to learn now. So, you already got your whippings and lashings, that Monday after the loss or even win. Some of the worst meetings are a win that you don't play good.
What does Brady say to you after he gets bamboozled for the second time in that playoff game? Does he rip into you too, or does he just pat you on the ass and say,
yeah, so, sacks, they're going to happen, right? I think last 2018 playoffs, we didn't give up a sack, which was pretty impressive, but for the most part, they're going to happen. So, the first one, if it was a good player, he gets it. Let's go. Hey, keep it moving. After the second one, if, you slacking off, or the worst is if there's a mental error and you get beat. So, if there's a miscommunication and someone just doesn't pick up a guy, that's what you don't want. That's where, because that could have been avoided. Whereas, you get beat, it's going to happen. Let's get it going and move on. But it's when there's a mental error and you don't pick up a, blitzing linebacker or something like that. That's when you just want to get to the sideline as fast as possible.
But on the other hand, when you do good and Brady wins an MVP or a Super Bowl title with the Patriots, what's the best gift you ever bought? Did he get you a Bentley? Did he get you a nice steak dinner? Did you get a bottle of Dom Perignon? What does Brady do to splurge his offensive line when y'all win or do a good job?
This year we got so he gets us Christmas gifts every year. He used to get us. They used to be an Uggs. I guess he had some type of Uggs thing. So I got 7 pair of Ugg slippers. Beats by Dre, the headphones. He would always, every year, you'd always get some Beats. I think my nephew had 7 pairs of Beats and I have 10. So, there's always headphones around. But last year he got us a battery pack. It's called Boosted Scooter. So that's been pretty fun. I like it. I take my dogs and make them chase me behind it, when it's a nice day out here, which we haven't had that many. 2 years ago, he got us so much Bass Pro gift cards, which I really liked. There's a Bass Pro in our outside the stadium. There's a shopping center, so there's a Bass Pro there. He got us a bunch of those. Have you heard of those Canada Goose jackets?
Yeah.
Which I thought were kind of a ridiculous jacket, but up here they're so nice.
So nice.
When it gets cold. He
wears that jacket, doesn't he? Sometimes.
Yeah. They're awesome jackets. They're unreal. iPads, watches, let's see what else he's gotten us. Always,
so he's pretty generous, man, is when it comes to taking care of his boys.
It's kind of a tradition in the NFL is you get your offensive lineman a gift as a quarterback. So he's taking care of us pretty well.
So the last time I saw you was in Boston at Fenway, though.
Yeah.
Really cool place.
Unreal.
I mean, like you can't not beat Fenway Park or the environment or culture around it. Why do you like Zach Brown? Do you only like Zach Brown because you guys are from the same state, or does his music really do it for you? Why are you there at that concert? And do you enjoy that? Do you enjoy those kind of nights? You and your old lady like to get out and have an adult beverage and dance a little bit in the pit and listen to some good music. Is that one of the things that relaxes the NFL part of you? I know we're going to get into hunting, but is music a big part of that as well? Zach Brown specifically?
Yeah. I grew up in Georgia, obviously. I got my Georgia hat on, and, my wife's from Georgia, so we love the state of Georgia. And, one of the coolest venues that a lot of people cut their teeth on, coming out of Georgia is the Georgia Theater in Athens. Zach's got a live album. I think it's the Pass the Jar album. That's from live Pass the Jar from the Georgia Theater.
Yeah,
it burned down. It burnt down, and so he put on a live concert to raise money for it. And I'm pretty sure it's got like Can't You See, he's covering Can't You See with like Kid Rock. It's probably my favorite, and I love live music too, so it's probably my favorite live album. But man, I love getting out, and I just grew up on country music. My dad's not a big loves sports, but he's not a great athlete. He's a singer. And so I grew up with him singing country songs, and that's just kind of been my life. And anytime I can get out and see a country show, I want to, and it's amazing how many country acts come through up here and how big country music is up here. I think, what was he there like 3 nights?
3. Yeah. He usually does 2, but 3 years ago, he was the first act.
And I think that was the concert we were at.
Yeah, it was the second night or the third night of that, but it was he sold it out like 13 times in a row or whatever. It's a record, but he's the only person to sell it out 3 nights in a row on the same tour. He played it on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And man, you talk about an atmosphere. Like Billy Joel's been there, Paul McCartney's been there. I know several acts go through there, but Zach has a weird connection with that part of the country. Being a country boy from Georgia and coming out of the shoot with a song called Chicken Fried, he has an unreal fan base in Jersey or in Jersey all the way to New England, and that whole area there is like they're just in New York. I mean, they're obsessed with Zach Brown.
Yeah. No, and I think even though Chicken Fried has a lot about the South and stuff, it's just a blue collar kind of feeling song.
Awesome song.
And that's one thing that I've love about being up here in New England is the respect for the people just up here in general. Just a lot of blue collar, hardworking folks. And I think that's kind of why the Patriots and New England get along is, you've got these hardworking players and, maybe not the big name, the super big name players, but they work their tails off and then they become big name players. And, the city, loves them and we love the city back. And, so I think that's the thing about country music is, there might be stuff about the South and, whatever, and Georgia Pines, but we all can relate to the hardworking core values that the music talks about a lot of times.
I'm going to drop another Georgian on you that's literally probably my favorite songwriter in music right now, Brent Cobb.
I like Brent a lot.
Oh my gosh. Is he not unreal, man?
He is awesome.
Talk to me about Brent Cobb a little bit. He's from Cobb, Georgia.
I've never met him. I've met a lot of people, a lot of artists from Georgia. That's, another cool thing about doing what I do. They like us and we like them. So, it kind of works out. I can remember my dad going like, this might've been when I was in high school. I'm pretty sure. He was like, go listen to this song. It's called Down a Dirt Road in Georgia. And it was by Brent Cobb. And God, I don't know how old that song. I'm like 90% sure it was like 8 years ago because I would have been in high school. And and then he came out with the album, like 2 years ago, that big album, where he's got like, I grew up my family's from Alabama and we had land down in LaGrange, Georgia. and he has a song, what's it called? Like South of Atlanta.
Ooh, ooh.
And so like, that to me hits, I can remember, us playing games on Friday nights, and then we all pallet and go down to our hunting land on, Friday night. And, that song just kind of brings back those nostalgic feelings. And,
you just gave me chills, that song, man. South of Atlanta, and Where Dixie Still Flies. And then you got like Shine on Rainy Day, which like you cannot, like, I'm a grown ass man and I will shed a tear every time I hear it. I don't know. He's just got his new song that he just released, The World Is Ending. Like, if you listen to the lyrics,
I haven't listened to that one.
You got to, David. After we get off, go download The World Is Ending and just listen. And then you hear the story of he wrote this song 11 years ago, and it literally feels like it was written for this virus.
Wow.
And I don't know if you watched Luke Combs' Facebook in the last week, but Luke Combs got 4.5 million hits in 24 hours on that new song that he's releasing right now.
6 Feet Away or whatnot.
Yeah, Brent wrote that with him over FaceTime. So they wrote it in like 3 hours the other day. And Rob Snyder, who's also written a couple hits with Luke Combs, She Got the Best of Me and another one. They wrote it over FaceTime, and now it's like, it's blowing up, dude.
Unreal.
But that song, and then his new album, Providence Canyon, which is an area in Georgia.
That's the one I was thinking about.
Oh man, dude. That song he wrote on there called King of Alabama is about Wayne Mills, his buddy in Nashville that got shot and killed. And then he's got the song Providence Canyon's amazing. And then the song, like, it would probably be you at an outdoor wedding, the one about tomorrow, tonight, the morning's going to come. Yeah. Look at old barefoot dancing across the outdoor. I mean, he's just clever, man. So
I liked it. Well, probably one of my favorite ones of his is Ain't a Road Too Long.
Oh God,
I love that. That's just a good crack of beer.
Go back to October or maybe November, December, somewhere. And listen to he's been on the podcast a few times, but listen to his first episode, and we break down like digging holes. That album is I've been working in a coal mine. That and then he, like, his outlook on life and how he pulls these magic words out of the air. And I'm just like, the way he does it. But listen to that podcast, and I'll introduce you guys. He's just a great human being, and he's just got a knack for it. But there's been a lot of talent. I mean, Travis Tritt's in Georgia. Like, Travis Tritt's one of the best of all time.
You got Travis. I saw Travis do an acoustic show when I was in college, and it was just unreal. Just him and a guitar, and he was coming up here. I don't know when. It's probably been canceled or rescheduled and he was doing another show, and I called my buddy. I was like, dude, if I can get us backstage, you got to come to this show. And I haven't even looked at it now because
it's canceled, I'm sure.
Yeah,
most of them are.
But, who knows when that's going to start happening again. But yeah, no, Travis, and then you got, there's so many guys, the Luke Bryans, Jason Aldean. I mean, it's just
the Georgia Peach
Gilbert,
the Georgia Peach
Pickers. Red Atkins is probably one of my favorites of all times.
Oh, That Ain't My Truck in her.
Oh my gosh.
He's written so many freaking hits, and he's a turkey hunting mofo, and just Dallas Davidson. I mean, there's so much freaking talent that has come out of that. I mean, Zach Brown's arguably the best of all. I mean, his Grammys and his freaking
he's just an unreal musician.
Oh, dude, his guitar picking, like, he's on a different level of songmanship, man.
Unreal.
I think it's cool that you have you got that. That's kind of your little escape there, and then your other escape. I got to ask you this though: have you learned how to cook a good chowder yet? A chowder? Have you learned a good chowder being up there?
No, I haven't. I might have burned myself out on chowder my first few years because I do love it. Got to get the Tabasco in there, and but I have not learned how to do it. I did this summer, so I did a low country bowl for the 4th of July on the Cape for some people. But then, instead of doing crawfish and stuff like that, we did these things called steamers.
Oh yeah.
And we did full lobsters. So,
poor guy.
Yeah, right. It was a low country bowl with a Boston influence. So
I love it. You have corn on the cob in there?
Yeah. Corn, sausage, the whole nine.
You just threw down. You ever do artichokes?
No, I've never done artichoke in there. Put it in there with it,
and cauliflower.
Interesting.
And
I've never done that.
And a boil, like, a southern boil where they like their heat, their spice. The artichoke it retains that flavor and that spice so well, like kind of like corn does, but just on a better taste level, I think, in my opinion. But yeah, Boston's special, man. When you get over the like Cape Cod and the lobster up there and the seafood, I could eat that diet 7 days a week, no problem. Not necessarily the chowder. I get worn out of cream, but the oysters and all of that stuff I could eat on in every meal of my, even breakfast. Like I could have a crab omelet with egg whites every day of my life, I think.
Yeah, no, the something that's special, like you go to a restaurant, they got the lobster Benedicts. Oh gosh. Now it gets like rich, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot. Like it might go take a nap after, but
yeah, I'd rather eat crab consistently, but I love lobster once in a while.
I would too.
I'm addicted to sushi. I love sushi. I love raw fish also. Do you? Because a lot of people from the South look at it as bait.
I do. I'm pickier, I guess, in the sense I don't do salmon roll. It's just not for me, but I love the tunas.
That's interesting. I love salmon.
See, I don't do the salmon roll, but like tuna nigiri, oh my gosh, I'll eat all day. And we have some pretty good sushi restaurants. We were talking about maybe going to Boston and getting some takeout this weekend. And I was thinking about going to hey, sorry, Kimber.
That sounds like a big dog. Big dog.
I got 2 German Shepherds. But yeah, I was going to go get some sushi takeout this weekend from one of my favorites in Boston, but they're closed. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing what we're learning right now of what we take for granted. Like just simple things like sushi takeout or going and sitting at a sushi bar. I would do anything to do that right now. Just
you drink sake?
Heck yeah, warm and cold.
I like it. What's the cloudy kind called?
I don't know.
It's just cloudy. I don't drink.
Is it the brand?
No, it's just like, when you pour it out in the glass, it's like
a little cloudy. I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know what it's called, but my buddy knows a lot more about it than me. So I just tell him to, order it. But I tell the people I want the cloudy sake and they know what it means. So
tonight, what I got going right now in my refrigerator, I prepared it last night over an adult beverage. I had one on a conference call last night of Jack Daniels on the rocks with a tiny bit of this seltzer water. And it turned into 2 because after I got off this conference call, I was like, man, I'm going to get dinner ready for tomorrow night. So I started throwing down. I took my buddy, Brett Cannon, who I need to introduce you to because you're from Florida. You're from Georgia. He lives in Fort Lauderdale. You need to go out fishing with these guys in the off season. You would dig him. He just sent me mahi, yellowfin tuna, and I ate all of that in the first 2 days raw. I didn't eat the mahi. I've eaten the mahi since then, some of it, but not raw. The yellowfin raw, and then these swordfish steaks that last night I took them. I cut the membrane, the spine out of them, and I put them on foil, and I took lemon zest, the lemon wedge with the zest still on it, and I squeezed it on there, and then I kind of shaved some of the zest onto the fish. I took a little bit of Tony Chachere's and put that on there, and then I mixed up this butter, this garlic, tiny bit of garlic because I don't like garlic to overpower my fish, and I mixed it up in this butter, and then I let it cold and kind of marbleize, and I took it right before it got hard, and I just brushed it on the fish and let it sit overnight, and I let it like drain in there. So I'm going to take those and I'm going to set them actually on the grill because the substance of a swordfish can handle the heat of a grill and it won't just start flaking off like a walleye would or a mahi. And I'm just going to grill them on there until they're to the right internal temperature. And dude, I'm telling you, like when I opened it up this morning, the smell that hit me, I was just like, I love freaking seafood. I could eat seafood every day of my freaking life, man.
There's nothing better to me than I love fishing in farm ponds. I could sit there and fish.
You could eat crappie and freaking
bluegill and bass all day and just take them right there, clean them, fry those jokers up, have a fish fry that night, or sit at the beach, catch fish all day, go home, throw them on the grill, cook them however you want. To me, those 2 things.
Oh my God. So yesterday I had T-Bone on from Bone Collector, and the day before I had Waddell and Nick Mudd on. And Waddell and T-Bone are, they're stuck in quarantine in Georgia. They're eating brim. And I'm like, a brim is a bluegill, so stop calling them brim. They're like, they're brim. And I'm like, they're bluegill. And they're like, But anyway, we came to the agreement that they're all panfish, right? So T-Bone and Waddell threw down their favorite recipes of me about, man, this catch and release shit, it don't work. We release them right into Lake Crisco, right? Yeah. So then they give me their recipes. And then the week before I had Brent Cobb on again, and he goes, Hosh, you know what I'm doing right now? I said, what's up? He goes, I just caught 35 brim with my cousins and my family, and they're already ready for grandma's grease. So he gave me his cornmeal recipe. So I'm sitting there going, gosh dang, we don't have good bluegill fishing out here. We don't have crappie fishing out here. We don't have perch. You know, you can go get perch up in like Minnesota and the Dakotas and Iowa and stuff. And then you have walleye up there, which is my favorite fish in North America. But the brim, which the bluegill and the crappie are hammers, right? And then Waddell's like, Chad, I've never caught a bass that I didn't eat, you know, when I was growing up. So like I've eaten bass one time, but he's like, dude, bass is unbelievable.
I love bass.
But it's always, it's gotten like this rap now with Bassmasters and FLW and all of that of like, you know, you throw them back, right? They become the fish that you throw back a lot.
I mean, I think though, you got to know what you're like throwing back and what you're keeping. If I catch a 6-pound bass, I'm not going to eat that bass. That bass is going to go back. Those little fish that you got to get out of that pond. Oh man.
Do you cook a bass the same way you do a crappie or a bluegill?
Yeah, just cornmeal fried up.
Dude, we got to do that when this is over. And I mean, obviously football's getting ready to, when do y'all start? August or July or what?
So we would be started right now.
You'd have camp right now, mini camp right now?
So we go like, it's called phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Phase 1 is we can have like an hour of meetings 4 days a week. And then we work out for like 2 hours. And then that's for 2 weeks. Phase 2 is like, you can have like 2 hours of meetings or something, workout, and then on the field stuff with the coaches, just you can't hit. So there's no equipment. It's just all like footwork and movement stuff. And then that's for 3 weeks. And then phase 3 is like OTAs, which is basically full on practices, but you're just in helmets. And there's like time strains. So, you know, it's like 8 to 2 or something like that. And that's for like 4 weeks. So that's what we would be doing right now. But yeah, so and then we go off. We're off for like 6 weeks in the summer, and then start just toward the end of July.
And I think that I want to do this more of like, maybe we could have like updates from you throughout this season of how the quarantine's affecting this, and then when you get back and like see how your season's going. Now, are you going to start again after the clot and sitting out a year? Are you projected to be the starter again?
Well, you know, you got to earn your job every year, but you know, we'll see. Hopefully, you know, can get back to it, and you know, we'll just have to see.
How are you feeling about it?
You know, I feel good. You know, this is usually kind of, you know, me and my wife usually go home back to Georgia in the off season, and this year we didn't because I had a bunch of doctor's appointments and stuff I had to get cleared up with all that, and my wife went back to school for like esthetician stuff. And then obviously all this happened. So we've kind of been stuck up here. So usually I'm back at home and I'm hunting and fishing, and, you know, I'm kind of like, man, I don't want the season to start. I'm kind of enjoying life a little bit. And this year's kind of been the complete opposite, you know, especially once we got stuck up here. I'm like, man, I just want this to start. I just want to play. Like, I haven't done it in a year. I just want to get out there and do it. And, but it is what it is. So, you know, we'll see, but I'm definitely ready for it to come around.
You are, huh?
Yeah.
I'm ready for a freaking fish fry, dude.
Yeah, me too. That's like I said, not being home, not getting to fish, you know, because back home, any pond has got a fish in it. Golf courses, neighborhood ponds, whatever. And then obviously, you know, you got all your farm ponds and stuff, but anywhere you are in the state of Georgia, you can go catch fish basically. Up here, it's a little different. It's cooler. The fishing's a little bit different. Caught a pickerel. I didn't know what a pickerel was, and went to go grab it.
Isn't that a walleye?
Yeah, I think it's similar. I don't know if it's technically a walleye, but they got teeth. Kimber, come here. It's got like teeth and stuff. So I went to go grab it, and like I looked down. I was like, "Oh shit, better not grab that thing."
Yeah, that's a walleye. Yeah, yeah.
So,
that's a good eating fish. Have you? Oh yeah. Oh my, that's the best eating fish in the world, dude. Really? I'm telling you, that's that. And people are going to call in on this podcast and go, "You're an idiot, Belding," but it's comparable to me to halibut.
Really?
Yes. I mean, it's that good. Now, if you go over to like the Chesapeake and have you caught rockfish out in the ocean yet? Now, I'm sure if you went out in the bay, I guarantee they're all over that part of Massachusetts, but in the bay, they have a rockfish, which is in America, down here in like California where we live, Lake Powell in Arizona is very prolific for them. They have them back east. They're called stripers or striped bass.
Well, so
that's a rockfish. That's a rockfish.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what we fish. It blew my mind when I was a rookie. Someone was like, "You want to go striper fishing?" Well, we catch striped bass in big lakes, in the river. So I thought we were going to the lake, and next thing we pull up, I would pull up to the ocean, and I'm like, "What are we doing here?" I had no idea that striped bass live in the ocean.
I went back there.
That's a great eating fish, though.
Oh man, dude, my buddy Brad Forsythe, David in California makes, and when we were talking, I'm like, I have striper from the Sacramento River 5 days ago. And my buddy Brad has this, when we were talking about chowder, he went to Boston with me the first year I went for Zach, and he started making this striper chowder. Dude.
Yeah, I know people that do that.
Oh man, it's freaking phenomenal. So he'll freeze it for me and like send it up here on overnight dry ice. And but the stripers in like I was back for Benelli meetings, and they're like, "Hey, we're going for these rockfish." So we go out there, and like it's like lunch on the boat, and like really nice, like, but not like a nice boat, like an old beat up boat from the 50s. But these captains go all out for you, and we just start pulling in these stripers. And I'm like, "These are rockfish," and they're like, "Yeah," and like they go nuts for them over there. Where like crab over there is unbelievable, the oysters are unbelievable, and then these guys throw down on these different recipes for stripers, and I'm just like, damn it, I love where I live and I love Lake Tahoe, but I would do anything to have access to fish like that, dude.
That's one thing that, I've had appreciation with being up here. Some of the outdoor stuff is just different experiences that, I grew up hunting in Georgia and South Alabama, and, there's nothing to me that will ever beat it. That's what hunting is to me, but getting to do more hunting up here and fishing up here, and, I love fishing back home in Florida for redfish, speckled trout. That's kind of like my favorite thing to do, fishing wise in the Gulf. But so like doing this up there, with the stripers, I try to get out as much as I can. I just started getting into fly fishing. So I missed a striper last year on a fly rod. So I'm going to try to get one this year. So it's been pretty cool to see kind of what New England has to offer in the outdoor space.
Is it hard for you to, like you were talking about, you never get married on a Georgia football game, or a Patriots football game. Well, me, like everybody knows that if their wife talks them into getting married in the fall, they know that I'm not going to be there, right? I'm just like, hey, I'm in the duck blind, so you should probably wait until March to get married, and I might be there, kind of attitude. Is it hard being a pro football player and loving the outdoors? Because baseball players play all the way up until the World Series in late October, and then they get some of the rut, they get a good part of the migration if they're a southern duck hunter. Is it hard for you you don't get as many days to do because you're playing all the way through January?
A little bit. That's why I love turkey hunting, because that's where I can really jump off and go. Yeah. Especially in Georgia, because, back home it's been going, for over a month, right, which I've missed. We actually start Monday up turkeys, so I'm pretty excited about that. But that's kind of my big thing that I kind of dive into. But I told you earlier, we leave Friday nights and go off and go deer hunting all weekend. And so I went to college, and I wasn't able to do that. There was no hunting. Fishing was very limited. And I just was kind of miserable and didn't want to do it. I wasn't starting as a freshman at Georgia. And, any college kid, the first year at college is, having fun. But then, they're kind of like, getting down, missing home. And a lot of my buddies, I had buddies that played baseball at Georgia, so they got to go hunting all week, and go hunting all fall. And so I called my dad one day, and I was like, "Dad, I just don't know if this is for me, man. Like, I like football and all, but I kind of miss deer hunting, and I kind of just wanted to do all that." And he was like, "All right, well," he's like, "If you want to quit, that's fine. It's up to you. You make your own choices, but you're not just going to come home and hunt. You're going to have to get a real job. You're not going to go to Georgia anymore. You can go to community college, figure it out, and then figure out from there." And I was kind of like, well, damn, getting a real job doesn't sound very fun.
Now that you put it that way, Dad.
Yeah. Now that you And he was like, "Look, David, you got 4 years left to play football, maybe more if you're lucky, and you can hunt the rest of your life." And he's like, why don't you focus everything you're on football, because you can't play football when you're 50 years old. So why don't you focus everything you have there, and the rest we'll worry about later.
You know what you can do at 50 years old, though? You can get you and your dad a nice little deer lease, or buy a nice little piece of property with that NFL money and enjoy it, And before 50, man. You might do that when you're 40.
So that's kind of, it's been tough for me. If I get a bye week, I'm definitely going to get in the woods, once or twice. but I kind of put all that stuff on the back burner a little bit. This year, not playing, I deer hunted more than I've deer hunted in the last 8 years. I did my first waterfowl hunt. That was my dad never did that growing up. So it was never something I got experience to. And so I did that. And then, we don't have football right now and our turkey season starts Monday. So,
so you're gonna send me a picture and you're gonna overnight me some turkey breasts now that we got that out of the way.
I can do that.
So plan on after the Super Bowl, when y'all win the Super Bowl, that's usually the first Sunday of February. Sunday?
Yeah, it's like the 1st of February.
Let's just assume that you do plan on meeting me in California for the late season speckle belly hunt. And if you don't make the Super Bowl, plan on coming to California in January when the season's over and getting after some specks and puddle ducks.
That sounds like a plan.
I'll pick you up at the airport. You're not in a private jet. Will Tom fly you out there?
No, not anymore. Maybe if he was still here. But
the ongoing comment I always hear about Tom Brady is that his wife makes more money than him a year. And I go, that is not necessarily scientifically proven yet. All right. I mean, she's a great model. She was a big time model. I don't know if she still is, but they say that she made a pretty good living.
Well, I can remember after my rookie year, all the tabloids at the checkout market. So we're sitting there checking out and it's, I don't know, some magazine. And it was like a picture of them at the beach and it was like Giselle and NFL husband. And I was like, it doesn't even say Tom Brady.
NFL husband.
My wife, he was just like, it was me. You know what I mean? Like this dude is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. And then
That's
my wife
crazy.
was like, yeah, but David, you don't realize she is so much more famous than he is. Worldwide, Tom Brady is Tom Brady in America, but worldwide, she is Giselle. And so I was kind of I knew who she was obviously, but I don't know anything about models. I didn't really care. And it blew when I was realized wow, she is so much more famous than he is worldwide.
She is. I mean, she's big time. Let's do this again, man. Let's have a Foul Life episode coming up about just the outdoors, and then we'll stay in touch as far as the season goes and what's going on with your starting position in the season, how it's laying out. Man, I appreciate you being here. I think it's a tremendous honor to have you on, as well as congratulating you on being an NFL athlete, because just a very, very small percentage of those guys that play under the Friday night lights in high school, or even lower than that in Pop Warner, make it. So stay humble, man. You're a great dude. And I think that it shows that you were obviously brought up the right way. You got a good head on you. And I'm glad that your dad talked you into staying at Georgia.
Yeah, me too.
And let's do it again, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me on.
And I'm going to hit you up one of these days for maybe a jersey or a helmet sign for the studio.
Do it. Let me know. I'll get it out to you.
You the man, brother. I'll be in touch. I'll text you and we'll get another episode planned. I'll let you know when this one's coming out. That's David Andrews, New England Patriots starting center. Absolute badass, humbled as they come, loves the outdoors, loves family, just loves the entire culture of the area that he lives in, New England right now. So support him. Great lifestyle. And again, common bond is the outdoors, man. Appreciate you, buddy. This has been another episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody. Again, brought to you by our friends, Lynchburg, Tennessee, Jack Daniels, America. Enjoy it responsibly. Tom, hit that button. This is Leith Lofton, written by Leith and our good buddy, Drake White. What you going to do when the money's all gone?
I'd rather be poor, living off in a hole, rich as hell without a soul. Life on earth.